I now recognize Dr. Jackson from Texas for 5 minutes of question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Thank you to our witnesses for being here today. For over 2 years, many Americans, just like myself, have been demanding that investigation into China's role in the development of this vaccine, or this virus, and their efforts to cover up the virus after the fact that it was released, leading to this global pandemic that have killed millions and destroyed billions of lives. We've been demanding that for a while. I'm glad we're doing this now. I think we're way behind the power curve on this, but I just want to start off by saying, other than the Chinese government, the entities most aggressively trying to actively spread misinformation about the origins of COVID, trying to actually create and spread what they would have you believe was scientific evidence or scientific opinion, and I'm referring in particular to things like the proximal origins document, a document that was intended to provide fodder to harass, label, threaten, cancel, destroy anyone with any other opinion, specifically an opinion that this came from a lab, from the Wuhan lab in particular, an opinion that we know now was accurate. The people that were most interested in doing just this were people like Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins, and others at NIH. It was Peter Daszak and Eco Health Alliance. It was Dr. Tedros at the WHO. And of course, it was our unbiased and purely factual cable news networks like CNN and MSNBC. Director Ratcliffe, do you know if there were any instances of the U.S. intelligence agencies, did they share information, did they cooperate or collaborate with any of the entities that I've mentioned or the individuals that I've mentioned to either suppress or get out information that was contrary to what we're talking about today that we know to be the facts?
As I understand your question, Congressman, were any of the scientists or individuals associated with any of those groups, did they have
were there interactions with the intelligence agencies?
They did have interactions. I don't know the answer to all of them, but some of the individuals that I know, for instance, Dr. Peter Daszak, Dr. Farrar, Dr. Gary, I believe, were all at some point in time briefing various entities or agencies within the intelligence community about this virus.
Well, one of the things I'm wondering, like, we're looking back now and we're realizing that some of these intelligence agencies probably had enough information to make a solid determination that this most likely came from the lab in Wuhan as far back as a year or more ago. My question is, were they sharing this information with these people that were putting out contrary information, that were being propped up as the experts, that were giving us things like proximal origin, using it as evidence to completely undermine what I think the intelligence agencies knew to be the truth a long time ago? Was there an active push within the? And I ask that because you may have realized after the fact, because I think you had mentioned at one point that even within the intelligence agencies, you as the director of national intelligence were being kept in the dark on some things, or not being fully briefed, or maybe not being read into everything that was going on, because people that were subordinate to you were doing things maybe for politically motivated, or they were saying that they thought that they didn't want to draw politics into it. But I think, in my opinion, they were politically motivated themselves. Was there any effort on the side of the intelligence agencies to correct what was misinformation, what they knew to be misinformation at the time?
Well, I can only speak to the personal knowledge that I have, and the efforts that I engaged in was, as we found information and intelligence that was inconsistent with things that were some of the individuals that had consulted with the intelligence community had stated. We went through a process to declassify as much of that so that you would be aware. Or the State Department fact sheet that has been referenced a number of times about researchers being sick at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, coronaviruses, including the one most similar in nature to what became COVID-19, and the Chinese military's involvement. Those were all pieces of intelligence that I worked to get out publicly with Secretary of State Pompeo through a declassification process. So from my standpoint, my personal knowledge was where we became aware of inconsistencies like that, we did our best to make that information available publicly.
Thank you. I mean, I guess what I'm a little bit worried about is I'm just worried that there was a process here where the intelligence agencies were purposely not sharing information or not coming forth with the information that they knew to be true because they were being influenced politically by what was going on in the White House or elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think that, as again, I didn't just, there were instances that were documented by the analytic ombudsman that reflect the fact that when it came specifically to China, the country of China, that some of our intelligence and our analytic judgments were impacted by partisan politics and the desire for intelligence not to be used by one party as opposed to another.
Right, and I bring this up because I think it happens in this administration for the last 2 years. It's happened in the military. I think it happens in our intelligence agencies. These are people that we pay to be nonpartisan, to protect us. We pay them because of their expertise so that they can make sure that our national security is intact. And I think that if there's any of that going on behind the scenes, we need to get to that. People do not need to be making decisions based on their political beliefs or their political alignments. If it's going to impact, something like, our response to COVID.
I agree completely.
Thank you. I yield back, sir.
I now recognize Mr. Garcia from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses. I do want to start, Mr. Chairman, by just responding to one of the committee members who just made some comments trying to link the origin